There's a moment you don't talk about. It's small. Someone promises to call you back. Someone says they'll show up. Someone says, "Don't worry, I got you." And something inside you doesn't move. No excitement, no relief, no trust. Just a quiet thought. We'll see. You don't get your hopes up anymore. Not because you're negative, not because you hate people, not because you've given up on life. You just stopped expecting anything. And you tell yourself it's maturity, it's independence, it's strength. But sometimes, late at night, you wonder why nothing feels surprising anymore. Why good news barely touches you. Why disappointment feels familiar, but joy feels distant. There's a name for this. It's what happens when hope has been costly, when expecting led to embarrassment, when trusting led to betrayal, when asking led to silence. At some point, your nervous system made a decision. It said, if we don't expect, we can't be hurt. So you stopped. Not dramatically, not all at once, just slowly. You stopped expecting people to understand you. You stopped expecting apologies. You stopped expecting consistency. You stopped expecting love to stay. It feels calm on the surface, but underneath that calm is something else. This pattern often begins long before you realize it. Maybe you were the child who learned that your needs were inconvenient. You asked for comfort and got told you were too sensitive. You needed reassurance and got told to toughen up. You wanted attention and got distraction instead. So you adjusted. You told yourself it's fine. You told yourself you don't need much. You told yourself you're strong. And children are very good at this. They adapt. If love feels unpredictable, they lower their expectations. If praise is rare, they stop seeking it. If affection disappears, they pretend they don't miss it. It's a survival strategy. Your mind learns that wanting less hurts less. Psychologists sometimes call this emotional withdrawal, or defensive detachment, or avoidant adaptation. But those words don't capture the feeling. It feels like shrinking your hope to a manageable size. It feels like telling yourself, I'll handle it on my own. Over time, it becomes automatic. You enter friendships already braced. You enter relationships already cautious. You enter opportunities already prepared for them to fall apart. You don't celebrate too soon. You don't trust too quickly. You don't lean too hard. You say things like, I don't expect anything from anyone. And people call you strong. They say you're low maintenance, independent, chill. They don't see what it costs you. Because when you stop expecting disappointment, you also stop expecting delight. When you lower the bar to avoid pain, you lower it for joy too. You don't ask for reassurance. You don't say when something hurt. You don't assume someone will choose you. You assume they won't. So you prepare yourself. You rehearse letting go before anything even begins. And it looks like emotional control, but sometimes it's emotional protection. Think about how you react when someone cancels on you. Do you feel angry? Or do you feel unsurprised? Do you say, yeah, that makes sense, even when it doesn't? Do you tell yourself you should have known? There's a quiet voice inside that says, this is what happens. Don't be shocked. That voice wasn't born yesterday. It was trained. Trained by moments when you were excited and then embarrassed, when you believed someone and then felt foolish, when you invested and then felt replaceable. So your system learned something simple. Expect less. It feels safer. And in some ways, it worked. You became resilient. You became self-reliant. You learned how to soothe yourself. You don't panic when people pull away. You don't beg. You don't chase. You detach. And detachment can look like peace. But sometimes it's numbness with good posture. There's another layer too. When you stop expecting anything, you also stop communicating what you need. Because if you don't expect it, why ask for it? If you assume someone won't show up, why tell them how much it matters? So you swallow things. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You say, I'm fine, even when you're not. Over time, this creates a strange loneliness. You're surrounded by people, but you feel slightly outside of everything. You're the steady one, the unbothered one, the realistic one. And yet, sometimes, you watch others get excited about things, and you wonder what that feels like. To expect something good and not brace for impact. To trust someone's words and not search for hidden exits. To believe that someone might actually stay. When you stop expecting anything, you also stop risking visible disappointment. And disappointment is vulnerable. It shows that you cared. It shows that you hoped. It shows that you believed something might work out. If that belief has been punished enough times, your mind decides it's safer to stop believing. There's often a story underneath this pattern. Maybe you were the one who always understood others, but no one understood you. Maybe you were praised for being mature, so you learned not to ask for more. Maybe you loved someone who slowly taught you that your expectations were too much, too emotional, too needy, too unrealistic. So you reduced them. You edited yourself. You told yourself, I don't need that. But the truth is, you probably did. And part of you still does. The human brain is wired for connection, for predictability, for safety, for responsiveness. When those things aren't reliable, your nervous system adapts by numbing desire. It's not weakness, it's intelligence, it's protection. If you don't expect warmth, you won't shiver when it's cold, but you also won't feel the heat. In adulthood, this pattern shows up in subtle ways. You don't fully believe compliments. You assume plans will change. You mentally prepare for people to drift away. You avoid getting too attached to outcomes. You say, it is what it is, more than you realize. There's a calm resignation to you. People might admire it. They might even envy how unshaken you seem. But inside, there's a quiet fatigue. Because not expecting anything means you're always holding yourself. You don't lean. You don't fall into someone else's arms emotionally. You hover above it all, watching, observing, ready to exit. And sometimes you don't even notice how quickly you detach. Someone pulls back slightly and you're already gone. Not physically, emotionally. You tell yourself you just have standards, but sometimes it's fear disguised as standards. Fear of wanting something that won't stay. Fear of needing someone who won't respond. Fear of believing in something that could collapse. There's a deep conflict here. The part of you that stopped expecting anything believes it's protecting you, and it did. It protected you from humiliation, from rejection, from the sting of unmet promises. But it also built walls around anticipation, around excitement, around the soft, risky act of hoping. And hope is vulnerable. It requires trust in something outside your control. For someone who has been let down enough times, that feels dangerous. So you control what you can. You control your expectations. You lower them until they're almost non-existent. You say, I'm good either way. But are you? Or have you just gotten used to not asking for more? There's a difference between peace and guardedness. Peace feels open. Guardedness feels tight. When you imagine expecting something good again, what do you feel? Excitement or anxiety? If it's anxiety, that makes sense. Your body remembers what it felt like to be disappointed. It remembers the sinking feeling in your stomach, the way your chest tightened, the shame of realizing you cared more than the other person. So it tries to spare you from that. It says, let's not go there again. But somewhere deep inside, there's still a part of you that wants to believe, that wants to expect kindness, consistency, effort, love that doesn't disappear when it gets inconvenient. That part hasn't died. It's just quiet. Maybe the first step isn't forcing yourself to expect more. Maybe it's noticing the moment you automatically expect nothing. The split second when someone makes a promise and you mentally withdraw. The tiny voice that